Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to a brand new video on PrizePicks. Today I got plays for you for NFL Sunday. Before we get into these plays, do me a favor, drop a like on this video. And now let's go ahead and talk about the winnables. So the winnables is where I give away free picks every single day. You can just type in winnable.com/bam into your Google, Safari, whatever, or just hit the link in the description of this video. It's the top link up there. Free and VIP picks is what I give out on this site. You guys go over, sign up for this free plan, and there's a ton of stuff out there. I'm literally just sending out free plays every single day. So make sure you guys are tuned into the winnable so you can get bonus free plays past just this video. And now we're going to talk about the VIP real quick because I am dropping a free week of VIP to anybody who texts me the word VIP to this number right here. So my personal phone number or one of my numbers for this business. All I'm going to do is just help you guys get on one of these apps. After you text me the word VIP, I will get you a free week of my VIP picks. And if anybody needs a little bit of a reminder how the VIP picks have been doing in the entire month of October, which now is officially wrapped up, we were up 44 units in the month of October. So November is just beginning now. We're going to get the November calendar started in the next couple of days because we are hoping to have an even bigger month in November. 50 units is the goal for November. There's a ton of stuff going on in November, and we will stay tuned to how the VIP does. I'm sure we're going to be a profitable month. It's like 5 months in a row now where we've been profitable. So VIP, absolutely no brainer. We just take sharp plays. That's pretty much all we do. If you want a free week of it, text me the word VIP. I'll get you on all my systems, all my strategies. You can learn all of them in the next week for completely free. Just text me the word VIP. But let's move into play number one. We're going to go ahead and target this, or let me go click over here. Broncos versus Texans. We're just going to go game by game on this site. I'm just going to tell you exactly how I feel about every single one of these and give you my favorite pick for each one. So we're going to click around and just talk about how I think the game script's going to go. So let's get right into it. Bo Nix has had a few great games recently, but he's been playing against the Giants and he played against the Cowboys. So we all know the Cowboys are a terrible passing defense. That's basically, I mean, they're honestly a bad defense, just straight up. But their passing defense is absolutely horrendous, right? And we can just show you guys. Opposing passing yards allowed. He's played the second worst passing defense in the NFL, which was the Dallas Cowboys last week. And then he played the seventh worst passing defense in the NFL, which was the New York Giants, of course. And now, or seventh or eighth. And that was just a couple weeks ago, right? So his last couple games have been against the seventh worst and the second worst passing defense. Unfortunately, now he's got to play the fourth hardest passing defense in the entire league, right? Houston has allowed a ridiculous numbers, right? If you look at how quarterbacks have played against Houston, how QBs have played against Houston, none of them have passed for over 225 yards since Matthew Stafford was. Matthew Stafford had a great game against them. He was the only one. And the craziest part is, it doesn't matter how low the line goes. It doesn't matter how low the line goes. Because the books started realizing after we were a few weeks in, damn, this Texans defense, they're solid, right? We're going to start to lower these lines. Let's put him at 187. He still hit the under. Let's put him at 183. He still hit the under. 224 for Sam Darnold, someone who was on a hot streak. He went under. 219 for someone who's like Mac Jones, who was on a hot streak. Mac Jones was playing out of his mind. He went on the under 2. Only had 193 yards, right? Now it feels like the exact same story again. Bo Nix has been on a hot streak. 279 yards, 247 yards, but you got to look deeper than that. The teams that he's been playing have been very bad or very bad passing defenses, right? Very good matchups, equivalent very bad passing defenses. And what I've pulled up here on my helpful statistics worksheet is the line goes really high when it's a bad passing defense, and it goes really low when it's a good passing defense. So as you guys can see, it was kind of in the middle here, and he missed. Then the line jumped really high, right? Because the Colts are not a good passing defense. And he actually greened down in that game. Then the line went low because the Chargers are a great passing defense, and he hit the under. Then the line hit really high because the Bengals are the worst passing defense in football, or at least they were at the time of this game. He popped off, right? Then he popped off again against a decent passing defense, and then he played a tough matchup in the Jets. He went under, right? Then he played two easy matchups like we just talked about, and he went over. So it's a very clear correlation between the green bars and the lines on the graph that I've pulled up here. When he plays against good passing defenses, Bo Nix does not show up. He just doesn't. He's probably going to end this game with 170 yards, 150 yards, something like that, if he follows the trend that we've seen all season long, right? So that's the play I like. Bo Nix on the under. CJ Stroud, I feel like I like taking this man on the over, but his line is a little bit too high. I like him better when they've trading him down to 200 or so. So let's move into game number 2. It's the battle of Jackson Dart versus Mac Jones. And of course, there's no Cam Scatterbo anymore, right? For the rest of the season, Cam is out for this game. But the player I actually do like is going to be in the receiving yards category. And let me see if I can go ahead and find him. It's George Kittle. So George Kittle, his line has been moving down. And his line has been moving down and down and down and down and down, right? So I like George Kittle on receiving yards or on receptions, wherever you really want to take him. But yeah, George Kittle, if you look at how he does, right, how he plays, he plays 50% of his snaps are in the inline and 40% are in the slot. So he's basically just a ton of work in the middle of the field. Whereas the Giants defense, I mean, you can basically cook them anywhere, right? But the slot and the wide out are the easiest places to cook the Giants defense. It's a pretty bad defense when it comes to the passing defense. And I just think George Kittle is going to have to show up in this game, right? So he's played one game and then got injured. He looked great. This was the first quarter of the game. I think he went down early in the second quarter. But he looked like an absolutely elite tight end. Came back, was still clearly limited. Only had 2 targets in this game. Didn't play that much. And then this game he had 43 yards, right? But you got to look at this again. Who was he facing up against? The Houston Texans. We just talked about fading players on their overs. You don't want to take their overs when you're playing against the Houston Texans because they've got a great passing defense. So we're fading Bo Nix this week, and that's probably exactly why George Kittle didn't hit last week, because he was playing a great passing defense. Now who does he have? Oh yeah, he has got the New York Giants. The New York Giants, terrible passing defense. Dallas Goedert is probably the player I would say is most similar. He had 28 yards in that last game, but he, on his first game against them, actually popped off for 110 because the game script was more favorable. So I like George Kittle a lot. 50 yards feels too low for me. We're going to keep rolling through. Colts versus Steelers in this one. You got DK Metcalf as the main guy. Let's hop back over to passing yards, see what we're looking at. Daniel Jones, his line is so high right now. Honestly, the strat for this one might just be to take a very boring play, what I would call as the perfect parlay piece in this one, and it's going to be Jonathan Taylor to find the end zone. So Jonathan Taylor to get a touchdown, it's looking like around minus 250 or minus 300, depending on the book where you're going. If you want to take him at 2 touchdowns, I honestly don't hate it. This guy looks absolutely insane, but we can't have a smash hit play for every single game. So for this game, I'm going to give you a smash hit play. It's Jonathan Taylor to get 1 touchdown, but I'm telling you, it's a great parlay piece. If you're building a parlay this Sunday, chuck in JT to get a touchdown. You won't regret it. It'll give you a little bit extra juice on your parlay. We're going over to Packers versus Panthers. So the Packers are the home team. In this game, the Panthers are obviously going on the road to face them. And as you guys can see, the books have clearly shown Chuba Hubbard is the second option. Rico Dowdle is the number 1 option. The books give Rico Dowdle 50 yards and Chuba Hubbard 18.5. I don't think the Panthers are going to fade Chuba this much. There's no injury. There's literally no reason for him not play that much. The only reason is that Rico Dowdle is the better running back, right? But that's been the case for the last couple weeks, and the Panthers don't seem to care. The Panthers seem to be playing them pretty evenly. I don't think that's going to change. And even if it does end up changing, 20 yards for a guy of Chuba Hubbard's quality is absolutely insane, right? That's way too easy to get. I don't care if Micah Parsons is on the defense. I don't care how solid the Packers defense is. I don't care if it's in Lambeau. 20 yards is all we need for this man. It's just too easy, right? 20 yards, Chuba Hubbard should be able to get that. Even if Rico Dowdle pops off for another 200-yard game, the RB2 could still get 20 yards and just be sneaking in, going over that one, right? That being said, I love Rico Dowdle in this matchup. I love Rico Dowdle in basically every matchup. I told you guys take the over here, take the over here, take the over here, and I'm not gonna stop now. I don't care that the Packers have a great defense. I don't care that this is in Lambeau. Because of the way the Panthers are built, they kind of have to feed through Dowdle, right? So Dowdle's a great player, but Hubbard is one of my favorite ones. Vikings versus Lions. I've got this play lined up from a mile away. We're taking Jared Goff on the over. 240 yards. Give me the more than right there. So what are we doing here? Jared Goff against the Lions in his career. He's averaging 328 yards. And that's not just over a 1 or 2 game sample size. That's over a 5 game sample size. Jared Goff, home against the Lions. Home against the Vikings, excuse me. Obviously, he's playing for the Lions. I don't care how bad he's been playing recently. this Lions defense, it's just not, or this Vikings, I keep saying Lions. This Vikings defense is not going to be able to stop this man, right? If the Lions are at full health, looking stronger than ever, Jared Goff on the over is the spot. J.J. McCarthy at 214, I would not mind. I would not mind taking the under for J.J. McCarthy. I know the Vikings receivers have looked great. I know Jordan Addison's been playing well. I know Justin Jefferson is always playing well. But 214 yards for a guy who hasn't played in 2 months, not always a terrible play. So I like it. For just these two, I'd take Jared on the over, JJ on the under. Now, let's move into the next one. Chargers versus Titans. This one we should not take too long on. We're going over to the receiving yards, and we're taking Chimere Dike on the over at 38.5. So the Titans are always playing from behind. It's basically a rule of football at this point. The Titans are going to be playing from behind because they're just that bad. And that's a good thing for a couple players. That's a good thing for the wide receiver because it means they're going to have to be playing from behind. They're going to have to go for it. They're going to have to pass the ball, right? Helps that their running backs are Ty J. Spears and Tony Pollard, who are both not very elite in their own right. But DK has looked like the solid number one guy, and his line at 40 yards is just too easy, right? So moving on to Falcons versus Patriots in this game. And I'm also going to stick with the receiving yards category. This one is very tough because you don't know if Drake London's going to play. Bijan looks solid, but I think he was dealing with an injury recently. I'm not sure if that has been cleared up yet. Kyle Pitts at 45 yards feels like a good spot, but I like him more on the receptions. I think he could get 4 receptions. If you can take him at 3.5 here, that'd be good. It looks like you can get him at 4.5 for plus money. I'd take him at 3.5, and I'd just call it there. Kyle Pitts right there against the Patriots. But this next one's going to be one of the most fun games out there to take because it's going to be Bears versus Bengals. And this one's going to be an absolute shootout. Why do I say that? Because not only are the Bears and Bengals decent offenses in their own right, they're terrible defenses. Absolutely terrible defenses. The Bears' running defense is one of the worst in football, and the Bengals' passing defense is one of the worst in football, right? Let's look at opposing passing yards allowed, right? Up here, this is exactly the same graph I showed you when I talked about Bo Nix. When the line is low, right? When the blue line right there is low, I'll zoom in for you. When the blue line is low, that means he's playing a tough passing defense, a defense that doesn't give up very many passing yards per game, right? So this Vikings, pretty tough. Lions, pretty tough. He went under in both of those. But then he plays the Cowboys, notoriously a great matchup for quarterbacks. He popped on the over. Then Raiders, decently tough defense. They're kind of mid. He still went on the under. Then he plays Commanders, who are a better matchup for him than the Raiders. He hit the over. Tough matchup right here. Hit the under. Great matchup. Smashed the over for 285 yards. Now who is he playing? The third worst passing defense in all of football. The third worst passing defense in all of football is the Cincinnati Bengals. So I love Caleb Williams. I love Romo Dunze. If you have either of them, both of them in your fantasy lineup, smash them on the over. Smash them in your fantasy lineup. This is going to be a perfect matchup for the Chicago Bears. But moving on to Jags versus Raiders, I'm fully fading that game. Sometimes it just be like that. Jags versus Raiders is not a game I want to be touching. Saints versus Rams, I kind of feel the same way for this. But I do like this line right here. Devontae Adams on the under at 5. The line was at 5.5 before. I like Devontae on the under at 5.5 receptions. If you can find that line again, I would take it there. But let's move in to Chiefs versus Bills because this game is the one I know you guys are all going to be tuned into because Mahomes has been playing elite. Mahomes has been playing absolutely nuts. He's had 270 yards in 5 straight games. And now he plays the Bills. And now he plays the Buffalo Bills. And what do you know, guys? Look at that. The Bills are the second hardest passing defense in the NFL to beat. They're the second toughest matchup out there. Literally second worst, right? Up there with the Broncos, the Texans, the Atlanta Falcons, right? Those are the other solid passing defenses in the NFL. The Bills are right up there with them. Patrick Mahomes, his line is at 271. If there was one player to absolutely not care about the trends at all and just smash his over, it's Pat Mahomes, right? Pat Mahomes is the guy that you just don't want to bet against. But that's exactly why we're going over to the receiving yards category. We're scrolling down over to the Chiefs, and we're fading Rashee Rice. We're fading Rashee Rice at 72. I love the man. 72 yards. I'd rather take him on the over at 6.5 catches. Like Rashee Rice on catches, not so much on yards. What I am going to take is Travis Kelce. So the Bills have a good passing defense. I expect them to be trying to lock down Rashee Rice and trying to slow down Xavier Worthy. I think Travis Kelce is going to have another solid, productive game. His line should be closer to 50 yards. If his line was at 50 yards, and this just shows you how much of these lines are just a game of inches, right? If you get a line at 50 yards, I really don't want to take that. But because this line is at 43 yards, I feel pretty solid about taking it because even that 7-yard difference could be the difference between winning and losing, right? That's the kind of margins that you have to look for if you want to be profitable over the long term. Just like I showed you guys for the VIP, we are profitable over the long term. Over the month, we are up 44 units. So Travis Kelce, 43.5. He's hit this in 5 straight games, accumulating with 99 yards in that last one. If we look at opposing rank versus defensive tackle zone, they're actually not all that bad, right? If you look at the player, he obviously plays mostly in the slot. And you look at the defense, they are really hard to take out on the wide and on the inline. But on the slot, they're more manageable, right? They are the hardest defense to beat on the middle of the field, the third hardest defense to beat on the wide out. But then in the slot, they're decently easy. I wouldn't say easy, but compared to the other spots, Travis Kelce is probably going to get more looks, more open looks than the other guys out there. But that's a huge game. I'm probably going to drop a free play in the winnable for that, a bonus free play, because there's just so much to talk about this game. But now, would you look at that? We've made our way to the last game of the night, which is Seahawks and Commanders. Jaden Daniels is obviously in for this game. Jaden Daniels has been playing bad since he came back, right? 230 against Chargers, 211 against the Bears, then 156 against the Cowboys, and both of those last ones were actually L's. So Jaden Daniels kind of having a little bit of a sophomore slump, right? That's all I got to say. But we're not going to Jaden Daniels right here, and we're not even going to Sam Darnold. We're going to my man, Jackson Smith Njigba. His line is at 98.5. This man is putting up college football numbers in the NFL on Sundays. His line is at 98.5. This is nuts. I don't think anybody else, his line is even close to that. 98.5 is ridiculous. And yet, we like him on the over. We like him on the over. So if you can get his receiving yards or receptions line, at 6.5 or at 7, I like it there. If you can get his longest reception line at around 26.5, I like it there because what do you know? He's hit the over in every single game except for the one time. And who was he playing? Was it a good matchup? Was it a tough matchup? Oh yeah, it was the Houston Texans, and he still got a 26-yard catch. This man is an absolute cheat code. He played against the Texans, 123 yards. He breaks the game sometimes. Look at this. When did he have a bad matchup? Was against the Saints. A bad game for him. 96 yards, mind you. Then he played the Cardinals. This was his worst game of the year. This was on Thursday Night Football, 4 weeks in. Still had 79 yards. And since that, he's been absolutely nuclear. 130, 160, 120 yards. And now, among those 3 stretches, right? Among those 3 stretches, he's had over 120 yards. And now he plays an even easier defense than any of those 3 plays. An even easier defense. This Washington Commanders defense is pretty injured in their own right, so I'm not going to hate on them and say they're a terrible defense. But when you're an injured defense, we usually like to bet the over on players that are going to face you. So they are the 5th worst defense defending the pass in this one. Jackson Smith and Jigba, his line is at 98.5, and I'm telling you, I like every single yard of that on the over. So that's all I got for the video. Make sure to join up on the winnable. Drop a comment if you appreciate this style of video. I hooked you guys up with, I think, 12 plays in this video. So if that doesn't deserve a like and a subscribe, I don't know what does. I'll catch you in the next one once we cash.